Ladies and gentlemen, this is CVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. While the Kremlin dictator assures his own citizens that the Russian economy is thriving and there are no problems with gasoline, Russian gas stations are sliding into a full-scale fuel crisis. The situation has become serious enough that the government is sending Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak to the press to explain why the supposedly temporary difficulties have turned into a chronic crisis. Apparently, the gasoline shortage is temporary, it just keeps happening. Now, the reason behind the crisis are becoming difficult to hide. Oil refineries are going into scheduled maintenance one after another following encounters with Ukrainian drones, while the logistics system is falling apart. The Kremlin's response says plenty about the scale of the problem. Instead of the promised import substitution, it has urgently authorized production of low-quality fuel meeting Euro 2 and Euro 3 environmental standards and launched gasoline imports from abroad. So the country that spends decades presenting itself as the world's main gas station is now buying 1990s-era gasoline from its neighbors just to keep its own citizens' tank full.
Ситуация с бензином, которая сейчас складывается, насколько долго она продлится? Ощущение есть, что все-таки вот тогда был острый кризис, а сейчас может быть таким затяжным. Это правда или нет?
Ну, во-первых, хочу сказать, что правительство в постоянном режиме держит руку на пульсе, и мы мониторим ситуацию вместе с компаниями, регионами в ежедневном режиме. Собственно, смотрим, где необходимо дополнительно перенаправить потоки, потому что сейчас действительно складывается второй этап, так называемая напряженная ситуация на рынке. Рассчитываем, что в ближайшее время ряд нефтеперерабатывающих заводов выйдет из ремонтов, и ситуация значительно улучшится. Вот, будем все делать для этого, в том числе, как уже и были приняты меры по запрету экспорта. Сейчас уже пошел импорт, и все были приняты необходимые нормативно-правовые акты для того, чтобы можно было выпускать дополнительные топлива более низкого класса, Евро-2, Евро-3, Евро-4. Вот. Есть вопросы, связанные с логистикой. С каждым регионом в отдельности работаем и решаем их проблемы.
Local officials, meanwhile, have found another explanation. The mayor of Krasnodar blamed the massive lines at gas stations on Russian themselves. According to him, the chaos happened solely because people were returning from vacation by the thousands. So apparently the problem is not scheduled maintenance or a logistic breakdown, it is drivers having the audacity to return home in their cars. But residents of Krasnodar region and other southern regions are filming a very different reality. Kilometer-long lines at gas stations where fuel is either completely unavailable or prices are skyrocketing. Officials can call it whatever they want. The drivers are seeing the crisis firsthand.
Ну чё, кто в Краснодаре хочет заправиться? Он подвозит топливо. Ай-яй-яй-яй-яй. Полный. Интересно, если купить очередь, сколько она будет стоить?
Едем с Маргошей и возмущаемся. Почему так много машин? Мы просто вот в пробках, чтобы вы понимали. В общем, в Краснодаре бенза нет вообще, да? Вот мы сколько едем, все бензоколонки, заправки все закрыты. Но пробки-то откуда? Ребят, вы где, блин? Вы из космоса бенз берете?
Now, Russia's gasoline crisis is another collision between the Kremlin's everything is under control propaganda and reality. A major oil power is now switching to substandard fuel, importing gasoline from abroad, and blaming vacationers for the lines at gas stations. Russia wanted to be the world's gas station, and now it's struggling to fill its own tanks. So Russian propaganda has produced another episode of its ongoing tragic comedy. The famous activists from the so-called Putin Squad have released a new video in which, with tears in their eyes and plenty of passion, they demand that Russian men be banned from traveling to Europe for more than 3 days. 3 days, apparently, is the maximum safe exposure to Europe. Now, the reasoning is where things get spectacular. According to these activist babushkas, a prolonged stay in Europe somehow transforms Russian men. They claim that Russians arrive as normal guys, but come back as girls. To prove their point, the pensioners wave photographs of Russians who had changed their gender, lamenting that in Europe, poor men are mutilated and turned into pretty girls. Yeah, apparently European influence works very fast. Day 3, sightseeing. Day 4, irreversible transformation.
Мы, отряды Путина, требуем запретить нашим гражданам поездку в Европу. Это максимум на 3 дня. Вот, был, а вот стал. Все.
No. Wait, give me a second. Oh, why did they do this? Jeez. No. Wait, give me a second. Oh, why did they do this? Jeez. All right. But strip away the hysteria about forced gender reassignment, and these grannies have accidentally made a reasonable proposal. Keep Russian men out of Europe. Europeans have little reason to welcome people who are killing Ukrainians for blood-stained rubles or cheering missile strikes on residential buildings. So, for once, Putin Squad have a solid idea. Keep Putin's fan where Putin is. Okay, so the Russian automotive industry, which has long been in a state of constant turmoil, has delighted fans with yet another technological breakthrough. One of the lucky owners of the so-called legendary Niva Sport decided to test drive his dream car on the road and, while he was at it, film a review for social media. Instead of a comfortable ride, however, the driver found the gear shift lever rattling out of control whenever the car was moving. And not just a little wobble, the thing was shaking like something you'd expect to hear under the hood, not holding your hands. For a brand new car, it's quite a demonstration of Russian engineering. Apparently, getting the gear shift lever to stay in place was not part of the package. But hey, at least nobody can accuse the Niva Sport of lacking feedback from the transmission.
Друзья, всех приветствую! Наконец-то я приобрел легендарную Ниву Спорт. Хотел бы рассказать про свои ощущения. Первое, вот я на ней еду уже 270 километров. Смотрите прикол, мало того, что руль стоит криво, вот вправо повернут. Есть такой прикол, смотрите, 60 км в час, 2000 оборотов, нажимаешь газ и начинается такое. Это нормально, нет, по-вашему? По-моему, ненормально. Пишите в комментах, что об этом думаете.
And perhaps this should come as no surprise. After Western brands withdraw from the market, the Russian auto industry has regressed to the Stone Age. Attempts to cobble together import substitute cars from old Soviet blueprints and cheap Chinese parts have produced new cars without airbags, ABS, and now, apparently, a properly functioning gear shift mechanism. All for $20,000. With the Niva Sport, the excitement begins before you can even accelerate. Just select first gear and see what survives. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.